Blue Sox Nation, we welcome you to another new edition of the Soxcast. We're PA announcer Tim Best. Good to be back. And, we've had some Hall of Famers on our show plenty of times before. But now, we got a guy who is on the right track to being a Blue Sox Hall of Famer. And, the other four, they're not from around here. This guy is homegrown, and he's made quite the legacy for himself. You know him, you love him. Ryan Enos. Rhino, welcome home, and it's good to get you on here inside I'm going to plug this, the elegant and brand new Blue Sox Academy here at Sangertown Square.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Now, so, I think if anything, we know George, our owner, has done a very good job of actually implementing local talent like yourself. When you were one of those local guys that was picked to be a part of your first Blue Sox squad in 2019, what were you thinking when you got the call, and, what was going through your head seeing a lot of other local guys like, obviously Dewey Roden, Vincenzo Castronovo, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I was just excited for that opportunity. That 2019 team, we had like 5 local guys, me, Parkey, Ches, Dewey, McCulley. So it was just a great opportunity, play in a great league, and then get to play in front of the hometown fans again. It's always nice to come back, and that's something I look forward to every summer.
So, let's talk about 2019 because, this was a loaded squad. Robbie Young was the leader in the PGCBL in hits. Luis De Leon led the league in batting average. He was so close to hitting 400. And, you had a good season yourself, but behind guys like that, you were kind of lost in the shuffle. So do you think having the spotlight on guys like them, allowed for you to, settle down and, really come into your own and get used to this very tough league that is the PGCBL?
Yeah, no, they were all great leaders and great players, and it was just fun to be able to get to work with them every single day, come to the park early, BP, early work, fielding. There's a lot of good role models, a lot of good players, and they were all very talented, so it was just good to, stack yourself up against them and get to learn from them every day, too.
So let's talk about the turning point of the season, which was right after the 4th of July. Amsterdam's in your house, and Amsterdam is just dominating everyone. But you guys turned the tables that night, and you dominated them. But it also helped with Luis De Leon back. You can look back on it now and say, yeah, that day really changed the course of the entire season. But back then, did you guys kind of know that this was the game that was going to change everything?
I wouldn't say it changed everything, but when you play a good opponent like that, you always want to show up, play. You can stack yourself up against the better competition in the league, and especially being at home, you always want to perform for the fans. And it's just kind of a measuring stick game where you see where you stack up against one of the better teams in the league that you hopefully see later in playoffs, and it was just a great game overall.
So fast forward a week later, you guys, that started a long win streak. It's up to 7 at this point, and you get Geneva at home. And the winner of that game moves into first place in the PGCBL West Division standings for the time being. And it was a battle. Andrew Hill was great on the mound. Geneva had a great night from their starter as well, but it came down to a 1-1 game, bottom of the 9th, and you come up in a big spot. Provisky I believe he was on third base with 1 out. Tell me, what you're thinking in that situation. And actually, no, Provisky got to third while you were at bat.
There was a pass ball or something happened, and he kind of got hung up between second and third, but he was able to make it to third safely, and I think in the middle of my at bat. I don't remember the count where he got there, but that kind of changed my whole approach, because when he's on second, you need a hit to score him, and then once he gets to third, you pretty much just got to get something in the air to the outfield. So that's what I was looking to do, and then I ended up hitting that chopper through because I got the 2 strikes. So at that point, I was just putting it in play, trying to hit something hard and get it through, and then we got that bounce, and we walked it up.
So that particular play, you had the infield in, and, a lot of times when you're hitting a ball on the ground, normally that's trouble. Mm-hmm. But, was it an instance of one of those, like vintage Murnane hop that, got the ball over and got you guys the win?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to hit something hard, try and get it. The infield was in, so usually when the infield's in, if you hit it hard, good things happen. They cover less ground, so yeah, we just got hit it hard, and we got lucky with that. The high chopper, it got over the shortstop's head.
I mean, like, did you think to yourself, like, for a hometown kid, like, it's like what you dream of as a kid, playing in your area for a pretty big club like the Blue Sox and having that special walk, not just walking off, but walking off to first place in your division.
Yeah, no, I mean, you always want to show out for the home fans, especially me being a local guy. My family comes to every game. A lot of my friends come, and it's people that I've been playing in front of my whole life, so I always want to put on a good show, and that game I just happened to be up when, with that opportunity, I took advantage of it.
So, looking back on it now, like, did the summer of 2019 really change, your trajectory? Like, okay, like, based on how I did this year, like, now I have a legitimate shot, like, to, obviously you want to, play your whole college career out and do well, but not a lot of D3 guys make it pro, but, being in a league like that will certainly give you the platform to get there.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely opens up some opportunities, and you get to play against a lot of good competition throughout the year. A bunch of big schools, Power 5, and it's always nice to be able to play those guys and see how you are compared to them.
Any moments during that first summer where you're facing a guy from like a power, like an SEC or an ACC school, you're like, whoa, like I'm really here.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it's a little different, especially like a lot of the breaking balls are different. But I never really got overwhelmed or anything. I was always very comfortable in the box and felt like the work I put in and then showed up on the field.
So, speaking of being uncomfortable, 2020 was certainly uncomfortable for everybody. Like it looked, once in the early stages of the pandemic, obviously the PGCBL was looking to play, but ultimately they didn't. So, but during that summer, though, there was still being baseball played, and obviously because I follow you and Dewey and all them, you were one of those guys that was playing during that summer up in Rome. Tell me and the rest of Blue Sox Nation what that was like in terms of the kind of schedule you were on for that, and like how great it was. Like granted, we were in the very early stages of the pandemic, but still being able to play the game that you love.
Yeah, we were kind of surprised that we even got to play at all because school got canceled, all the other summer leagues around got canceled, and they just kind of threw that together at the last minute. They did a really good job. I think there was like 7 or 8 teams in the league, a lot of local guys, all the college kids from around, and we had a really good team. I think it was doubleheaders every Wednesday and Sunday. We ended up playing like 20-something games, so it was just a good opportunity to come back and play. And that team was a lot of fun. We got to play again with Dewey and a bunch of local guys, and it was just a good time being able to get back out there because for a while we thought we weren't going to be able to play at all, so it was just nice to have that opportunity. So
try to describe what it's like, actually getting back into the swing of things with, your boys up at Oswego, and, you guys had a hell of a year, came up short in the SUNYAC title game, but, we all saw that shot. We all did. I mean, you pimped it, and, like, were you thinking to yourself, like, I think really, I mean, if you would have had that same energy in 2020, had it been normal, but just being back out there for the first time after not playing it all the year before, very limited before the pandemic started, but, like, you probably had all the energy saved up just to let it out like that.
No, it's always nice to come up and a big game in a big spot, and the emotions just kind of came out after the home run, and I think that put us up 5-1 in the third, so I kind of thought that would be the exclamation point to kind of put them away, and then unfortunately it didn't end up happening. They came back. It was a good game, back and forth. We ended up losing, but we still made regionals and had an opportunity to continue after that.
So, obviously, regionals didn't really go your way. I mean, still a very good season for you nevertheless, but, was it an easy decision for you to, come back? Because, I think you were supposed to in 2020, but when you got the call back in 2021, was that an easy yes for you?
To Utica, yeah, of course. I always loved coming back to Utica. Playing in front of the fans, it's a great organization and a great league, so it's just a great opportunity that I was thankful to be able to have again, so it was an easy decision.
So, how great was it? Because fan attendance was really limited for you, for basically your entire spring season.
Yeah.
But opening day against Auburn on June the 4th, and granted, there were still some capacity limitations, but I guarantee, at least from my perspective, but I can't even imagine how you guys must have felt. It must have felt like a packed house.
Yeah, no, it was great to finally have fans back. Usually we do a great job packing Renee and getting people in the seats, and they came with a lot of energy, so it was just fun to be able to play in front of a crowd again.
So that second home game, though, I feel like there was so much that made that game great. I mean, part of that was you hitting a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first. But, I think the moment that, finally we got something in the city of Utica to really rally around and something for everybody to get into, it took me 5 damn years to find something that rallying song. And you just sum it up, it's 3 words, 8 letters, and the memes, like 3 words, 8 letters, and I'm yours. It's not I love you. It's Pump It Up.
Yeah, I mean, that was something that we really liked. Really brought the team together, a lot of energy, and it was just fun to celebrate after scoring. I think the fans got into it too, so it was just something that we could share together, and it was just a great time.
So, I mean, the energy guys, I mean, there were so many just around the team, but I mean, but how great was it? I mean, obviously, you got your own fans locally and just fans that, learn to, love and appreciate your game just from watching you, but watching guys come from, far away. I mean, not really far away. I mean, granted, you're probably still on the East Coast, but watching a guy like Eddie Javier getting such a strong fan base here in Utica and just watching the, fans gravitate towards this group like no other year before.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great. Just having fans back in general was fun, and they really bought into the season. We were good again, and just great overall. I mean, they loved coming to the park. We loved having them, and then that relationship just kind of built throughout the year.
So, obviously, there were some dry spells for you guys. You started off red hot out of the gates, and then you guys hit a bit of a lull. But, in July, when it mattered most, granted, again, you had a few setbacks here and there, but, in the games that really mattered most, you were able to come up big, and, you got a couple walk-off wins in the month of July. But the first one in particular against Watertown, dealing with not one but 2 rain delays.
Yeah.
Granted, some short ones, how emotional was that game, going through those 2 rain delays, battling back, and there were some tough plays. I mean, you had to, draw walks, be patient against a guy who, before the 9th inning, was really mowing you down.
Yeah, I mean, that game was wild. I never had 3 rain delays in the same inning. They were short. They were trying to get the field, the mound and the home plate and then part of the base pass just in playable condition, but having to deal with 3 rain delays in the same inning and staying up and keeping the emotion high and playing in the moment, it was just a wild thing, and I'm glad we came out on top.
And I'm not gonna toot my own horn here, but I had to make sure your energy level stayed up. And
in the rain delay, you did do a very good job.
Yeah, and let me tell, when Raymond was about to come back up in a tie game, I think that was the last rain delay when he came back up. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was channel my intro, although I had to tweak it a little bit. But once I said that, you and a bunch of, I believe it was you specifically who requested it, or it was either you or LaPointe that asked me to do that right before Ramo came back up to the plate. But once I did that and Ramo's coming back up, you gotta admit it, you guys knew it was over by the time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, your intro always fired us up before the game, so a big moment like that, of course, is gonna fire it up.
So I gotta ask also, because John LaPointe, and again, I didn't know this until you told me about 3 weeks into the season about how he would do it on the road. Again, what does that say just about the overall just team energy and just the little stuff and how it just resonated and just be built into the team's identity throughout the year?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that we were all really bought in, high energy, and how we all became really close friends over a short period of time, and just enjoyed being around each other and keeping that high energy the whole time.
So that last week of the season, 2019, you guys had the division in the bag relatively early because you had a week to go in the season before when you clinched it.
Yeah.
So this time around, it came down to the last days, and you had a couple games with Auburn at Murnane, and specifically Paint the Park night. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a turnout like that at Murnane, whether for Legion or even just any Blue Sox game prior?
No, the crowd that day was crazy. Obviously, it was for a good cause, so I'm sure we raised a lot of money. And they had a lot of energy that day, and I think we really came out ready to play.
And, when you see a guy like Rosie going out there, extra motivation of having his grandmother there as a breast cancer survivor, but, what was it like watching Rosie just dominate on the hill like he did?
he was locked in that day. It's fun to watch when good players are locked in like that.
So, that I feel like the second game against Auburn, I mean, granted, it wasn't the 12-1 blowout, but, I mean, you still shut them out. But, I mean, we talk about great pitching performances. I mean, everyone talked about Rosie, but, the sleeper on that staff, you got to give it to Ryan Figueroa. By the way, congrats to Figgy. We shouted him out. Congrats to the D1 deal with Niagara. But, how great was he? I mean, Rosie was good against Auburn a few days before that, but Figgy was on another level that night.
Yeah, I mean, his stuff was crazy. Just from that that sideward angles that he had, his pitches were moving all over. I think he only gave up one hit.
Yeah. I mean, and not to mention no walks.
Yeah, and I think he went 7. Usually he only goes 3 max, and he just stuck it out and kept going out there.
Yeah, I mean, and for him to how great was it for him to step up in that spot? With Dewey coming out, with his arm bothering him just after the second.
It was just huge for him to be able to step up for us like that. Obviously, in a huge game, standings wise, and we rallied around him and fed off his energy because he was locked in that day.
So, the day of the next day, I mean, obviously there was still 1 day left in the season. We didn't know back then that it was going to rain, and that was going to be a real last day of the season. But going into that game against Watertown, I mean, you expect to win, but do you expect to put up 20 runs against those guys?
No, I mean that's just they say hitting's contagious, and that day it was just everyone was on fire at the same time, and that they couldn't get anyone out. It was just good performance by us, and we were just feeding off each other.
And how fitting. I mean, it was really weird. Obviously, there are certain players like, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one that got the 20th run. But of all people in the ways in which to do it, is Angel hitting a solo shot down the line to get that 20th run. I mean, take me through what's going through, because I believe you were in the hole at the time when he came up.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just obviously a good swing. Angel was a clubhouse favorite, so we were all excited for him, and just him coming around the bases. It was fun. It was fun to dug out afterwards, but just a great moment overall to cap off. You got to score 20 in 19.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that 19th, that was, that tied the single game record. But now, I mean, having that sole possession and having that good round number of 20, obviously it feels and sounds really good. But obviously, it's baseball. Sometimes you have nights like that. Other nights you just can't seem to muster up a run.
Yeah.
But that playoff game against Auburn, obviously, it was unfortunate not being able to play that game at Murnane, because, I mean, obviously with turf versus grass, we all know what's going to happen if they play it on a grass field against a team that's built for turf. But, just take me through just, what exactly happened that night, and just, how obviously with such a great end to the season, why one night and one bad performance, one off night really just capped it all off and ended your season in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, I mean, we were disappointed we couldn't play at home. Obviously, we wanted to play at home in front of the fans in a playoff atmosphere, and we were very successful against them at home, but we struggled there all year. I don't know what it was. Their park seemed like a graveyard to us, because it just seemed like every time we'd hit it, it'd be right at somebody, or line drives in the gap, they'd run down, and we just couldn't string anything together. Their pitcher threw well, and their offense came out hot. I think they scored 3 in the first or something like that, and then we were just trying to fight our way back, and we just unfortunately could never get back in it.
I think overall, I mean, there was a lot of stuff you had to deal with throughout the year. I mean, obviously dealing with COVID, as tough as it is, but I mean, you had a lot of notable things where, like Steensma and Petrie go down, and I believe both of them had to get surgery on their arms after the season, but, still, you were able to get some big-time performances, and, most people forget this. Kosh Mack wasn't named All-PGCBL at all, but he led the league in RBIs.
Yeah.
Overall, obviously, this team is a lot better on paper and probably should have won a lot more games, but, how good was it, even with Lou on a quote-unquote down year, how good was it to have a really good, well-rounded team where, it was a different guy every night?
Yeah, no, obviously we had a lot of talent on the roster, and there's always going to be ups and downs throughout the course of the season, but it's important to just stay up and keep through it no matter what's going on. If you're in a lull, just keep doing what you're doing and get back out of it. But yeah, we're a very well-rounded team, and anyone can step up at any moment.
So, I mean, the crazy thing is, I mean, obviously, Lou was supposed to be the guy for this team this year, and it took him a while to really get going.
Yeah.
But, you saw it in 19, you saw it again this year. I mean, when he's on, good luck trying to get him out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does it surprise you now? Obviously, I wish I had the information when he did, accomplish this, but, does it surprise you that Lou set the all-time hits record for the franchise and in 27 fewer games, no less?
Yeah, no, I mean, when Louis was hot, he seemed like he was going to get 2 hits every night. And, yeah, he did start out a little slow, but he worked every day, just trying to tweak his swing and get back to his normal self. And then for the last month, I'd say he was definitely back to his normal self. I think he raised his he was like 280 something. He ended up with it at 390.
Yeah, it was like 330, I believe.
330.
Yeah, this year. I mean, which for him that's way down for him not a normal year.
Yeah.
But like I feel like from a granted like you two are pretty similar in age, but like I felt like you could have learned a lot from him just from watching him hit, just to help yourself improve as a hitter too.
Yeah, he was very regimented. Something you could take from him is he had a set routine that he'd do every day, just a bunch of drills, fundamentals, and he would work on it every day. So that's something that you can really learn from. It's like that hard work every day pays off, and once you get into a routine or like a regimen like he did, it's good for your swing and it helps you get to where you want to be.
So for you in getting in terms of a routine, I think how important was it to be a second-year guy, being used to the schedule and all that, but knowing exactly what to expect when you got to the ballpark and just essentially trying to do all the things that you were doing well 2 years prior.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to be home. I get to live at my house at home, so that's always nice. And just being able to work out every morning, knowing the schedule and what's expected of us from Doug and the rest of the staff. It's just having that experience from the 2019 season really helped me out this year to get back in the swing of things.
So, I mean, obviously, like, we want to look ahead, and obviously, like, we're supposed to, like, from what we know, we were supposed to get a schedule this year, this month, but haven't gotten it yet. Fingers crossed we'll get it soon. And obviously, there's going to be some pieces. We're piecing together the roster, and very few people who are tuning in right now. I mean, it stinks that they're going to have to miss this live, but they catch it after the fact. But Utica's become a place where they've breeded 3-year guys on a consistent basis. Are you going to add your name to that fraternity?
Yeah, I'll be back this summer.
Blue Sox Nation, you heard it here first. Again, for the 3 of you that were here, good on you. But obviously, for those that will hear, again, this guy's back as a Blue Sox, and is obviously you don't really think about it when you're playing, but you're now that you have this opportunity, there's a chance for you to really climb up the rankings in terms of the all-time franchise players. You move easily into the top 5 in games played, and a lot of other. You're already top 5 in a lot of other categories, but there is one specific category where based on your numbers from last year, you will eclipse the record this year, and that's a category that gets slept on a lot. Bases on balls.
Yeah.
And first 2 years, 42 walks is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And you need 25 to break the record, which was held. By the way, he did this in 2 years.
Yeah.
Jared Baldinelli, a guy who I believe walked 42 times in one season. So, I know walks don't get talked a lot, but for those that watch Moneyball, it's all about getting on base. So,
Sure.
like, what part of how important is that aspect of your game in terms, like to make yourself a marketable player that, like, I mean, Blue Sox, really anyone can do it.
Yeah, I mean, the goal when you get in the box every time is to get on base. So just working the count, swinging at strikes, and battling with 2 strikes, just anything to do to get on base. I've always been a good 2-strike hitter, and I've always had a good eye. I don't really swing at a lot of balls, and it's being I guess unselfish. I guess you don't want to be swinging at everything to try and get the hits and the stats. I'm okay with getting walked.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it means your average won't go up, and it won't, I mean, it won't go up, but it certainly won't go down.
Yeah, true. Yeah, like I said, the goal every time is to get on base, and walks count just as good as a hit in my book.
I mean, that much you can't argue. So obviously, the owner meetings happened earlier in the fall season, and one big development is that Adirondacks can be back in this league, granted in a different division, but I don't know if this might be the first time you're hearing this, but this team is going to be in the West Division, like 2 18 divisions, and that West Division, I mean, the good news is the competition isn't as stiff because we all know what the East is made of, Amsterdam and Mohawk Valley. Saugerties, Saugerties is defending champion. In fact, I mentioned them third, it's whack. But so obviously, decreasing competition, but there's a lot more travel involved.
Yeah.
So your initial reaction to being in a pretty good West Division, there's some good competition out there, as I mentioned, but the door's open for you guys to be one of the top 2 teams in that division.
Yeah, I mean, the goal every year when we get there is to win the division and or get a spot in the playoffs, and then try and make a run once we get in there. So being in a favorable division is something that just creates a great opportunity for us to accomplish those goals.
So I know in the past, because we were in the West, we were in the West in 19, so and we didn't really play anybody out West this past year other than Geneva and Newark. So I mean, is there a level of excitement, going to other places? I know we went to Elmira in 19, which is obviously is a fun environment, especially when it's packed.
Yeah.
But Jamestown, I mean, the drive ain't great, but I mean, it's still a good environment to play. And then some of the newer teams in the league that Blue Sox haven't faced yet, in which include Batavia and Niagara.
Yeah, I mean, those will be fun games to play. It's always nice to play in new atmospheres and ballparks that I've never been in before. So those will be good opportunities, and just playing more teams. You get to see who else is in the league, what the competition is like, and where you stack up against those teams during the year. Hopefully you see them in the playoffs.
So obviously, another thing that's going to be extremely important now that you're going to be a third-year guy, I mean, there's going to be some talk, like, are you going to be an unofficial captain and all that? I mean, because there's always going to be that chatter. But, for you personally, I mean, whether you have the captainship or you don't, like, how do you plan on using all this veteran experience? And, I mean, there's a difference between a 2-year guy and then getting into that uncharted 3-year territory.
Yeah, being a 3-year guy, you kind of see yourself as a leader. Just like, especially in the beginning of the year when everyone just starts to come in, the guys will ask me questions about like just local things, like where should we go eat, where should we do this, what's fun around here. So just being here in Utica, playing on the team, like schedule wise, like early work, BP, they'll ask me questions about that, and just having that prior experience allows me to be a leader and create those relationships with the new guys as they come in.
So, I mean, another thing is, when you first got to Utica as a Blue Sox, this team had missed the playoffs in 2 consecutive years in 17 and 18. And so far, you're 2 for 2 in making the playoffs with 2 regular season division titles in the West Division in 19 and then in the Central this past year. So, how have you seen the culture in Utica morph and obviously grow into, what we're literally inside of right now in this huge brand new space? I mean, obviously you had worked down in the old Blue Sox Academy location when it was open there, but being back here and watching this whole thing grow the way it has.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first time in the new facility. It's great. It's awesome in here. I haven't been in here yet, but we expect to win. I think everyone when they show up expects to win as well, and it'll be fun to be back. It'll be another great summer, great experiences, and obviously we want to be successful on the field as well.
So, that last thing being said, obviously, you have these regular season division titles, so to wrap this up, what are your big team and you can do it in either order, but, personal and team goals for 2022?
I'd say for the team, we want to win a division title again, but I'd say to get that first playoff win under our belt, because the last two times we made it, we've lost in the first round single elimination game. So I'd say that's the biggest goal, is to get that monkey off our back, because we've been the favorites in both of those games after winning the division, and then we just lost that first round game.
So, I don't want to get too far ahead. I mean, obviously, winning a division title is one thing, but being the division representative out of the West in the PGCBL Championship Series, that's something realistically to shoot for.
Yeah, of course, that's the goal. Every time you show up to the field, you want to win, and then string a bunch together, go on a run. It's all about being hot at the right time. So hopefully we can get ourselves that opportunity at the end, and then once we're there, we make a run at it.
So now, for you personally, I mean, you've had, a couple seasons where you were hitting, well north of 290, but just shy of 300. I mean, are you gonna I don't want to throw it on you right now, but you gonna try to shoot for 300 this year?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I think both years I've been over 300, and then I had a little slow. I mean, obviously you go through ups and downs throughout the year, but yeah, 300 is a goal that I want to hit this year.
All right. Well, obviously, there's a lot to look forward to. And it's always great to see whenever we bring guys back. Not a lot of teams do it, but in Utica, we try to embrace those returners, especially those that are local.
Yeah.
So, and we're, again, for those of you that heard, Ryan Enos, our guest here on the Soxcast, is going to be back for year 3, which will make him the 4th Blue Sox to ever do that, joining a couple Hall of Famers, and probably another one who will be joining that fraternity as well, and Louis De Leon, of course, Robbie Young, Taylor Olmstead. And now number 4 to that list, the Rhino, Ryan Enos. Ryan, it was really great getting you in here. I mean, for the first edition of the Soxcast inside the new Blue Sox Academy.
Yeah.
Definitely wanted to get a local here and a guy who is, called this place home, called this team home.
Yeah.
So it was really, really great getting you here, especially on your Thanksgiving break. So again, officially welcome back for year 3 with the Blue Sox, and we can't wait to see you kill it up north at Oswego this year.
Thank you for having me.
So for Ryan Enos, Tim Best signing off for the Soxcast. Thanks for tuning in, Blue Sox Nation. We'll catch you next time.